May 15th, 2025. 1 year ago, the third game in the modern Doom series, Doom: The Dark Ages, came out. And you know, it's a good game. It got some good reviews. Or so you think. Yeah, this game did not get the treatment it deserved. From everything I've seen, it seems like the majority of people who played this game either really didn't like it or just saw it as inferior compared to the other games. And I hate that because this game is good. It is fun, and I enjoyed it. So for the first time ever, here's the true definitive review for Doom: The Dark Ages. It's a great game and nobody understood it. I could stop there, but screw it, I'll make a whole review explaining why. Before we start, let's gloss over a couple of things. First off, I'm covering everything in the Update 3 version of Dark Ages. If you're watching this in the future, some of these segments may be outdated. Second, this is recorded on PC with mouse and keyboard. Upscaling is on quality mode, there's no frame generation, and all settings are on low. Third, all of this is coming from my opinion of the game. I've played this game for about 100 hours, beaten the game 5 times, one of those was on Pandemonium, and a couple of Ultra Nightmare attempts. So I'd say I'm somewhat good. Still not the best, but I have a lot of experience with this game. If your opinion is different, that's fine. If you want to share it, leave a comment if you wanna. Alright, we all on the same page now? Excellent. Now let's start with the 3 main things that were promised to us in this game. Starting with the game. It's a Doom game. Alright, that's it. Now moving on to the next part. Okay, but really, the gameplay is fantastic. It's a Doom game, so yeah, obviously it's gonna be great. And what's the most important part of Doom? Well, just look at the bottom right corner and you can tell. That's right, the gunplay. Dark Ages nails it, obviously, but how exactly are they? Well, that's why Tier Maker exists. Let's just work them all, starting with
the shotgun.
Well, it's a shotgun made by id, so it's pretty great. It's got some pretty good upgrades as well. It can set enemies on fire, which is pretty cool. And there's also burst fire that I totally did not discover way too late, and I don't feel stupid about doing that. But yeah, solid gun. It does get outclassed by other guns later on, but for what it is, it holds up very well. A tier.
The fist!
You know, for an early game weapon, and the first melee weapon, holy shit, this is good! It's definitely the most fun melee weapon in the whole game, and it's really good to use both in the early game and the late game. Especially when you upgrade it. Oh, and it's also super fun to just like kick a demon into the stratosphere. Out of all the melee weapons, this is my personal pick in the early game. No, actually, the whole game. This is some fine S tier shit.
The Shredder.
Yeah, this gun's not that good. It's okay for like the first 3 ground levels you play in, but once you get the Impaler, there's not really a use for this gun anymore. I mean, I guess the upgrades are okay, I guess? But besides that, there's not really a point to use this gun over any other one. It gets outclassed by every gun in damage, fire rate, armor heating, and upgrades. But I mean, it's not the worst weapon ever. I guess it's better than a pistol, so, you know, I'm just gonna put this in C tier. Let's just move on.
The Accelerator.
I honestly think this is one of the most underrated weapons in the whole game. I mean, yeah, sure, it's fine when it's unupgraded, but once you get Heat Blast, oh yeah. This is one of those weapons that really gets saved by its upgrades. What's that? The accuracy isn't good? Get rid of that. Honestly, and this may be controversial, but dare I say, this is an S tier gun.
The Pulverizer.
Who designed this gun? What the hell? Alright, besides the death metal design of this gun is actually pretty fun to use. Sure, I don't use it as often as the other weapons, and I do think it gets outclassed by a bunch of other guns, but hey, it still rocks. Also, the speed boost is pretty fun, and it's like the first crowd control gun besides the rocket launcher, and I do kind of like that, so yeah, A tier.
The Impaler.
Easily one of my favorite weapons in Dark Ages. It's ranged, heats up armor nicely, and is a beast once you know how to use this. Yes, it has an obvious drop off, but once you know how to aim with this becomes one of the best weapons in the whole game. Oh, what's that? There's an imp? They're dead already. There is so little wrong with the Impaler. Genuinely, I don't know how you could hate this weapon. This is obviously an S tier because it's just so good.
The Super Shotgun.
If you looked up the Oxford definition of the word meta, you would see this image on the same page. I don't think I really need to cover this one too much, really. You all know how it plays, how it looks, so I'll just spare some time and give it the tier it obviously belongs in.
The Cycler.
Here's one I see a lot of people like. Now, I would say it's overrated, but I can absolutely see why people like this gun because it's really good. Now, I do think the Accelerator is a bit more fun than the Cycler, but the Cycler is still really good. It's for big enemies and bosses, and I think that's pretty cool. Give it an S tier right next to its little brother. Honestly, you can swap these two and I wouldn't fully mind. They're both good.
The Flail.
You know, to be honest, I used to think that the Flail was the worst pick out of the melee weapons, but on my Pandemonium playthrough, I actually found out this is a pretty good weapon. Now with that said, it's still probably the least best pick, but that's just because the other two are insanely fun to use. It can be upgraded to drop armor, which is pretty cool, I guess. And the armor heating would be cool, but then again, every single gun can do that, even the plasma ones. I do think out of the three, the flail has the best design. Like, look at that! I want a flail now! And it is kind of fun to hit chests with it. I don't know, I'm just trying to get anything. But yeah, it ain't too bad. I'll give it an A tier.
The chain shot.
If you looked up the Oxford definition of the word meta, you would see this image on the same page. I don't think I really need to cover this one too much, really. You all know how it plays, how it looks, so I'll just spare some time and give it the tier it obviously belongs in.
The grenade launcher.
Oh my god, this gun is so good! Yes, in my opinion, this is the best weapon in the whole game. Not only is it really good for crowd control, heavy demons, and hell, even just having great upgrades, it's really fun to use in general. Enough said, S tier.
The rocket launcher.
Alright, it's not as good as the grenade launcher, but it's still a very solid weapon. The parry charge on it is great, and I love melting vagaries with it. And I used to think the cannibalism upgrade was good, but on Nightmare, it's not really worth wasting 5 rockets to heal a fraction of your health. That's just gonna get blown away anyways. But you know, good weapon. I'll give it an A.
The Ravager.
I guess it's also a Skull Crusher. Honestly, I think the Pulverizer is a better weapon, but this gun with its healing upgrade is good to use with bosses. But otherwise, it's just the weakest out of the two Skull Crushers. It's still a B tier.
The BFC.
Well, it's pretty cool. Honestly, I don't really use it that much, but it's pretty fine. It's a good BFG, and we can leave it at that. B tier.
The Dread Mace.
If you looked up the Oxford definition of the word meta, you would see this image on this. Okay, really though, this is fantastic. If you told me that this was a BFG, I'd absolutely believe you, because this just nukes shit. The only problem I have with it is that it doesn't feel as reliable as the other two, as in, I don't want to hit anything that isn't a heavy with this, because I might just be wasting it. But otherwise, it's really good. It's probably not an S tier weapon, but it deserves to be at the highest point of A. Like, literally at the mountain tip, about to jump into space. And that's all of the weapons in the Dark Ages. I'd say at worst they're okay, but at best they are amazing. Like even the Shredder, I can at least see some use in it. So yeah, they're pretty good. Wait a minute. Alright, I guess there's one more we can talk about, and that would be
the Shield.
The Shield is fucking great. It is such a nice addition to this game. It is absolutely important to the flow of this game. Even in level 1, when it doesn't have the best part of it, it is still extremely good. Parrying? Yeah, it seems like it's pretty easy to do so, but a lot of enemies don't just have fireballs that don't do anything special. Some have homing fireballs, some have super fast ones, some fire multiple. They can come in different shapes, and those are just the ranged attacks. There are also melee ones that you have to memorize. That may also sound simple, but some of them have attacks that are either delayed or bait you into thinking that there's only one, but then actually have 2 attacks. The Shield Bash, learn this, it falters a ton of enemies. You can do a Glory Strike with this, you can travel with it, you get knocked back from a parry, charge back in, and this is just without the saw. With it, man, it just becomes even better. Stop an enemy with it, then use the time that they are stunned with to kill them. Cut down small enemies to get their health back. Break shields with it. There is so much you can do with this shield that it's insane. And that's just when it's unupgraded. And when you upgrade it, somehow it becomes even better. Bounce off energy shields? Yes please. Increase stun time? Absolutely. Less downtime? Absolutely. You need that for sure. Cut down fodder enemies to power up your shield back. Just take my gold already! When you upgrade this thing, God, it's so good. And it does not stop there. 4 shield runes when you already thought there was a ton of depth for the shield, which also has 3 upgrades for each one. Send an earthquake that drops armor. Summon daggers to stun enemies. Bring in some extra DPS with the turret. And if you looked up the Oxford definition, there is so much depth to the shield. In absolutely none of my time playing this game did the shield feel redundant, useless, or even gimmicky. It is a core part of this game, and when you don't have it, that's the brink of life or death. Because once you lose it during a big fight, you might as well be dead. Funnily enough, for this playthrough, I got a bug where like the shield didn't work for like a full minute and didn't return. And while it was fun to play without it, it absolutely shows that this game was designed around the shield. If I fought literally anywhere else or anything else, I would have been dead. Whew. And that is what I have to say about the shield. You know, since it's on the tier list, I'll rank it. The thing is though, that unlike all these weapons that I love, this shield is literally part of the gameplay. Even putting it in S would be an understatement about how good the shield is. So you know what? It gets its own tier. And with that, here's the tier list. However, those were really just the weapons. There's still a couple more things I can talk about gameplay wise, so here goes. Let's talk about the glory strikes. Hot take, but I think I prefer these over glory kills in gameplay terms. Yes, glory kills look cool, and they are still in the game, and they do look awesome, but really, I don't see how they could fit in the gameplay. My main reason for this is because some of them might take too long. Here, I'll give an example. In Eternal, I think that some glory kills, while they do look cool, some of them just take way too long. And sometimes that's bad because you're gonna get swarmed. And in Dark Ages, there's like 3 times the enemy, so it's gonna be 3 times worse when you get swarmed. So yeah, I think having a finisher system in Dark Ages is better for gameplay since now you can just quickly drop an enemy and then reposition as fast as possible. And hey, there are still glory kills that you can do on enemies, which I occasionally do when there aren't a ton of enemies in the room. But yeah, while the finishers might not have as much style as glory kills, it has efficiency to fill up that role. Now for the bosses. They're pretty good. The first boss is absolutely a pushover once you know how to play, but he's still got a little bit of a challenge, so take what you get. The second boss is a hit or a miss, as in you're gonna hit hard or you're gonna miss hard, which I love that. Best boss in the whole game. The third boss is basically just a diet version of the second with another one in the mix, and I think it's the weakest fight out of the 3 boss fights, but it's still a fine conclusion, and it does give us that awesome cutscene. And I guess the champion enemies do count, so I'll just cover them briefly. They're pretty cool. And to wrap this all up, I think I should cover that the game is slower in quotes. While Dark Ages in some places can be slower than the previous 2 games, this doesn't mean that the game is not fast. Sure, when you play for the first couple of hours, maybe it's slow, but that's because this game is trying to teach you all the new stuff it has. It's trying to get you to apply this stuff. Then once you get halfway, you start to get the feel for comboing, swapping between new weapons, getting new guns that you can deal serious carnage with. And by the end of the game, you just feel a general amount of knowledge on what you can do. Then once you've put a good amount of time into the game, you start to learn about some exploits. Faltering, stunning, shocking, all of that. And then while you're playing, you start applying what you learned. Soon, you start to become good. You become faster, more strategic, use more weapons, use a melee, the shield, the runes more situationally. And then that's when it hits you. You've entered the fun zone for this game. Man, this feels like another game that's also in the Doom franchise and was also very controversial on its release. Whatever. Look, I know that this game isn't everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. But if this whole section even gave you some thought of replaying the game, give it another go. And if you enjoy it more on the second playthrough, keep going if you want to. I played this game 5 times, and each time, I've loved the gameplay more and more, because I've learned so much. Whew. Wow, that was a lot that I wanted to talk about. It might not be obvious, but I think I like the gameplay. But anyways, let's move on to the next part of the game that was promised to us, and that will be the now the second main part of this game that was promised to us. Yeah, this part is not going to have as much content as the previous section, but I'm still going to gloss over it. I guess putting upgrades and stuff put behind more exploration is pretty cool. It gives this game some more replay value if you're going for 100% save, and I guess it makes spending your stuff, I guess, more decisive? I don't know. The currencies. Gold is, well, I mean, it's gold. What do you think? It's really easy to get since a lot of them are on the main path, and they unlock a couple simple upgrades to let the player learn about the currencies. Rubies look pretty cool, especially the statue. I kind of like the look of the statue. They're usually locked behind a gate or a simple puzzle, which I guess helps encourage exploration. Now the Wraith Stones. Man, these look awesome! Getting them feels well deserved because these are usually behind pretty complex puzzles, or these wolves that you have to break. My only issue is, why do the fingers clip through it? Okay, what else is there? Oh yeah, the secrets. I guess they're also pretty cool. Yeah, they're shown on the map pretty easily, but like, they only show you where they are, they just don't tell you how to solve the puzzle to get there if there is one. Take these wolf puzzles for example. Yeah, sure, the map does tell you where the reward is, but it's up to the player to find the wolves on their own. There's also the codex. The codex being a bit more minimal is fine. I'm not much of a reader on the codex, but it is fine to just stop for a minute and read a little bit of information on something. My favorite has to be the log for the combat shotgun because it's basically just implying that Earth's technology kind of sucks, and I kind of love that. And that's kind of it for exploration. Now, for the third part of what was promised to us, So, this time, Dark Ages now has a story. Not like Eternal or 2016's plots where the story was just basically, go here, and then there's some story stuff in the way of the path there, and then next level. Now, there's some story in the beginning of the level, now go here, and then there's some story stuff in the way of the path there. Wait, what? Okay, I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid. The story is nothing to write home about. It's not gonna be the most gripping narrative ever, but I mean, like, was anyone expecting that? I already had a feeling that was just gonna be, yeah, we put 7 more cents into the story budget, and that's basically kind of it. But while the story isn't the greatest written thing ever, I will at least applaud id for trying harder to make a story in this game. The best part of the story has to be the main villain, Prince
Azri.
Ass Crack. He's probably the most competent villain in the whole Doom franchise.
Avoid the Slayer.
He's the most competent villain in the whole Doom franchise. Yes, he did try to fight the Doomslayer, which is insanely stupid, but at least he was in a much stronger state that he could actually go toe-to-toe. Hell, even have like a 0.0000001% chance of taking down the Doomslayer. Also, I just want to say, his voice is really good.
I can never rule as king, so long as you are the only one they fear.
Love it. Hats off to Rick Cosnet, you did a good job with Asshole's voice. Besides the villain, I think the first half of the game actually has parts of an interesting story, with the Slayer being brainwashed to basically be a tool in the battlefield and nothing else. The scenes with Butthole is also really good, and okay, that's kind of it for the good parts. Now for the rest of the story. The second half of the story basically just amounts to, oh yeah, we gotta wrap everything up. We gotta kill Buttplug and his loonies and save Thera. I mean, it's not like everything in the second half of the story sucks. There are good parts of it, like Harbor of Souls, enhanced butt sauce scenes, and the final cutscene. Otherwise, there's not much here. And while I did say some of the first half of the story is good, there's still just parts that are just exposition or aura farming. I mean, it's not bad to have these, but I mean, like, the exposition is just kind of boring, and the aura farming, I mean, it's cool, but like, that's kind of it. And yeah, that's the story. It's obviously not the best written thing at all, and there are still parts of the story that are just pointless or even boring at worst. But like I said, I will at least applaud id for trying the story this time. And with that, those are the things that were promised to us. The gameplay is insanely great, the exploration is cool, and the story, well, it's a story. But I really don't want to stop here. There is still so much more that I can talk about in this awesome game. And with an awesome game, you know that it's gotta have awesome music. Alright, before we cover the soundtrack, I'm just gonna get this out of the way so you guys don't tell me. Yes, I'm aware that the Mick Gordon situation exists. Yes, I know he got mistreated, but I'm not going to cover it in this video. Why? It's because of two reasons. One, this is a 3-year-old controversy. If I were to talk about it in this video, it would be the same as kicking a dead horse. And two, what am I going to add to it? I'm just gonna say the same thing a million other people have said. And even if I did have something new to say, still, this is a 3-year-old situation. Alright, with that out of the way, let's talk about Finishing Move. Holy shit, these guys are great! Yeah, I'm in the minority of people who think that Finishing Move did a great job with the soundtrack. You know, I was somewhat skeptical of having a new composer for Dark Ages, but when I heard the soundtrack and actually indulged with it, I fell in love with it. These guys made absolute bangers, which is why it's such a shame that everyone doesn't like it as much as the other soundtracks. Okay, I just want to say this. If you think that Finishing Move is bad because Mick Gordon is alive, fuck you. Okay, yeah, that's a bit harsh, but still, I'm tired of people hating on the soundtrack because it's not a clone of Mick Gordon's music. It gets on my nerves especially because, yes, Mick Gordon made good music, but so did Finishing Move. Like, I didn't see this much hate for Levy and Hulsholt, so why are these guys bad, huh? Okay, I'm just gonna stop talking about Finishing Move because I genuinely do not want to get insanely mad in this video. Let's just talk about what they made. Yeah, the soundtrack is good. It has so many good songs in it. In fact, you know what? I'll play a couple of my favorites just to get the point across. And we'll start off with... man, the soundtrack is good. But I don't want to end this segment by just saying it's good, which is why I saved my favorite song for last, and that would be Battle on the Blackened Tide. I'm going to tell you why this is my favorite song in the whole soundtrack, and why it makes me appreciate the soundtrack more. I can start off by saying that the song really fits the tone of the level. In the level that this is in, Harbor of Souls, you're in the soul world, like limbo thing, and I really love how the music sounds here. You can hear a bunch of sentinel chanting, some orchestra, drums, and even war horns. I watched the behind the music for this song, and I just want to say, I love how much orchestral stuff is in here. I really think that the song hits the "you're the badass who's gonna kill everything" nail. Like, you know how 2016 had BFG Division and Eternal had The Only Thing They Fear Is You? Well, Dark Ages has it, and it's Battle on the Blackened Tide. Also, I just want to point this out. This is a build-up song, and the build-up is a light combat. It's kind of like Harbinger, but better. And then we get to the heavy combat part. You know, I'm not even gonna say why it rules, I'm just gonna play it. Like, just listen to this. You see, this part is so fucking good, and it really helped me see the true skin of the soundtrack. It's not this fast-paced electronic metal mayhem that 2016 Eternal was, and it's not trying to. Instead, it's being this super heavy orchestral warfare with the metal being the cherry on the top. The soundtrack has so much effort put into this, and I love it for that. It really shows that Finishing Move put their best foot forward for this. So you know what, Finishing Move? Amazing job. You don't even deserve 1% of the hate you guys get. Well, that's 2 controversial segments that I just covered in this game, but there's one more that I should probably cover. And of course, I'm talking about the game. Now for the other couple of game modes that were added into this game. I've seen a lot of people not like these sections as much as the ground gameplay. And to be honest, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Like, yeah, I like the Atlan, but I still think the ground gameplay is obviously better. Speaking of which, let's cover the Atlan. Now, what is my opinion on it? I think that it is okay. Yeah, I will admit, it is very basic, with it just being slapping around a demon until they die and then move on to the next one. But I would be lying if I didn't say it was pretty awesome to do so. These sections still have some pretty decent gameplay, great sounds, and if you do some comboing, it gets a bit fun. Now, like I said, it is still just very basic combat, maybe being a little bit repetitive, but the biggest thing that saves it from being bad is that they are actually 5 minutes long. Seriously though, I would be more on the side of anti-Atlan if these sections were to be, say, over 10, going to 15 minutes long. But these sections, just being at max 7 minutes, is enough to have some fun without it becoming annoyingly long. So yeah, the Atlan isn't that bad. Now let's cover the dragon. Okay, yeah, the dragon isn't that fun to play. The combat boils down to hold down your left mouse, dodge, and then just shoot better. It's not very interesting. I think the one that's like almost interesting are the hell ships, which are the foundation of being cool, but they're basically just bullet sponges. No, scratch that. They're not, because it's just the non-charged bullets that suck. Here's some proof. But for the dragon, while the combat is kind of meh, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like the Atlans, these aren't too insanely long, with the longest time in a level being about 7 minutes, and it's cut into 2-ish minute segments, which makes these sections more bearable. And the flying sections are pretty fun, I will say. Honestly, I see a good foundation for a dragon being in the game, but it needs the walls and a roof for it to be good. The paint doesn't need to be changed, obviously, because, well, it's a dragon. And those are the other gameplay sections. They aren't perfect, and sure, one is flawed, but it's not like any of these sections make me want to shoot myself. No. No, you're not gonna make me review that. No, 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 no! Ugh. The turret. The turret is absolutely undebatably the worst part of this game. Hate the main gameplay, sure. Hate the Atlan, sure. Hate the dragon, sure. But if you think that in any way, shape, or form that the turret is good and better than any of the other two, you clearly need to stop playing games because the turret is boring. You know how I said the dragon was kind of mid, but it had good foundation? The turret doesn't have that. It has nothing. It is nothing, and I feel empty doing these. We could have had Titan fights on the ground, but we had this shit that sucks. It's so crap that I'm not even putting in the effort of grammarizing the script that I'm reading right now. If there's anything that is slightly good about these, is that it's basically an excuse to listen to the music, I guess. And that their runtime is literally 4 minutes in this 10-hour game. But at this point, I'm literally scraping for anything good about this. There's no point for a turret being in Doom. This should have been scrapped. This should have not been in the game. Why is this in the game? Whew. Okay, now those were all the gameplay sections. They aren't perfect, and sure, one is completely terrible, but they honestly aren't bad additions to this game, besides the turret. They just need a bit more meat on their bones to be pretty good. And, yeah, that's it. Now for the level. Generally, I think the levels in Dark Ages are very solid. However, I'm not going to cover every single one because there's 22 levels and I do not want to cover every single one and make this video unnecessarily long, so I'll just cover a couple of my favorites. Eratum is such an interesting location, with it being an airborne city. Don't know how you could have built this, but I don't know, it looks pretty cool. Besides that, I think this is one of my favorite early game levels. Plus, it's where you get the SSG and the cycler, so yeah, it's also pretty explainable why it's in my favorites. My only main issue with this level, besides the dragon, is that in the end, the city gets blown up because Buttplug wants to take the MacGuffin, which, when you think about it, wouldn't this cost the Sentinels like $1 trillion Sentinel bucks? Whatever. The siege levels are some of the most fun levels in the game. This is around the point where the game should start to click in its combat, since you know about how to use melee, you fought a couple of powerful enemies, and you got yourself a couple of powerful guns. The exploration in part 1 admittedly might be a bit long, but otherwise these two levels are awesome. The Hell levels look great. Yes, it's still an orange evil realm like Hell is usually portrayed as, but come on man, I'd be lying if I said the Hell levels didn't look cool. Spire of Narathul, or Narathul, how do you pronounce this? Besides it being very long, it's still a really cool level, especially during the second half, watching Cthulhu moving around and roaring, even getting up close with him. I kinda love it. The Cosmic Realm is insanely freaky, and I love it. No, not that kind of freaky, it just looks cool. Seeing the skybox is also really cool, because it's just so weird, but I love it. I also do love how the setting changes, going from like green weird place to this purple shipyard, and then like a digestive system. I would say that this segment might be a bit too long if there were any more levels, but for 4 levels, this place feels perfect. Not too long, but not too short. Okay, honestly, this feels unfair for this level to be in my favorites, because Harbor of Souls is fucking perfect. Not only is the story for this level insane to the point where I love it, not only is this one of the best looking levels, not only does it have Battle of the Blackened Tide, but this level is so insanely fun. This is a point where the game will throw everything at you, and you have to be good at this game at this point. I can make a whole section on why this level is one of the best levels, but it would probably take too long, so I'll just leave it at this. This level rules. And those are the levels. Overall, I think all the levels are really good in this game. I think the weakest ones are like the Sentinel Command ones, but even then, they're not bad. It's just like everything else is better than it. And now to wrap everything up, I think it's time that we talk about some other... This is basically just a miscellaneous category. It's basically just stuff I want to go over, but I don't think will fit in the other categories, so here goes. I love how Doom Guy's face looks in this game, and especially compared to Eternal, where he's either mad or constipated. Here you can see a lot more expression. Yeah, they're still mad and a couple of weird expressions, but for this detail, for just someone who's masked 90% of the time, this is insane. I love the Slayer's motif. It also really helps elevate some of the scenes like this one, for example. I do kind of wish it was used more, but you know, it's still good. I love the super destructible environments. Dismembering enemies is pretty cool, especially the full dismemberment. It's not often you see it, but when you do, it's kind of funny. The forced ray tracing, I can kind of see why a lot of people have a problem with it. It makes it so that older GPUs can't run it, and it may be a bad practice since now some scummy companies can be like, oh, we can use ray tracing forever now, we don't even have to put in effort. But there's one thing it does that those companies probably don't do. They optimize their shit. Really though, I can't give enough credit to id for optimizing their games. This game has only crashed in my 100 hours twice. First time was during the BFC segment on PlayStation in the first month, And the second time my entire computer froze. Then again, it might have been a VRAM crash, so I don't really think it counts. And also, the game is insanely smooth with how detailed it is. I mean, hell, I don't even have the best computer. I have like a mid-tier computer, and still, I run around 90 frames per second. Also, at low settings, it still looks amazing. So good job, id. The industry could use your optimization.
Oh yeah, also the game probably still wouldn't have released at this point without ray tracing, so they have a bit more of an excuse, just pointing that out.
I should probably stop glazing this game, so let me just name a couple things I don't like. I'm sorry to everyone at id, all the talented people, but like, this game is not worth $70. Like, yes, I still did enjoy my time with Doom: The Dark Ages, but I mean, come on, this is a really steep price for this game. It should have been $40, honestly. There's also the, okay, yeah, I think that's where it ends. To be honest, there's not much wrong in Doom: The Dark Ages. It's genuinely a fun game that's worthy of the Doom title. And also, speaking of which, I think it's time that I answer the final Jeopardy. Is this game better than Doom Eternal?
1 hour later. 2 hours later.
5 hours later.
3 hours later.
To be honest, I think both of them are equal. And that's because they're both good in their own terms and in their own ways. Yeah, Eternal has a bunch of stuff to play with, and you can dominate once you become a very high level player, but the same can happen in Dark Ages. Eternal has fast vertical combat. Dark Ages has fast horizontal combat. Eternal makes you keep quick swapping and use your chainsaw to refuel. Dark Ages make you use your weapons to the fullest and using your melee to keep refueling and keep the damage going. To me, every game in the modern Doom franchise is great in their own way. Even if 2016 is the weakest now, it created the bridge for the modern series and for more games to follow suit. Then Eternal refined the bridge that 2016 built. For Dark Ages, it decided to stay behind and build a sideways elevator from the materials that came from Doom 1 and Doom 2. It is always going to change. They're always going to innovate with the new Doom. Doom isn't always going to be the same game. It's going to change. And you know what? I wouldn't want it any other way. So, in conclusion, this game is fun as fuck, and it should have gotten the love it deserved. Sure, it's not Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, but that's okay. And that's because it's